Hello, everyone, and welcome back to either the My Football Writer YouTube channel or the My Football Writer Spotify account, whichever way you are choosing to watch or listen to the newest instalment of the MFW podcast. I'm Freddie Humphrey Wakefield, and I'm joined once again by Jack Wright and Henry Miller, or should I say Squirrel Lover number 1 and Squirrel Lover number 2, after Norwich City's quite spectacular goal at the weekend, but not because it was really good or out of this world, just because there's a squirrel on the Hull City pitch. So they could say we got a point with 12 men, but no, it was intriguing. But we'll dive into that in a second. But first things first, Jack, Henry, how have the pair of you been? And Henry, I understand you've been talking to the main man in charge earlier today.
Well, I had a brief word with Johannes Hoftorp, got to shake his hand, but I've mainly been interviewing the fans. So Johannes Hoftorp did a signing session, not a singing session like what I posted on X earlier, but he did a signing session where he was signing autographs for the Norwich City supporters. And yeah, I got to go along, get a few interviews with some of the fans in attendance. And yeah, it's fair to say that the vast majority are fully behind Johannes Hoftorp and are fully behind what he's doing here at the football club, despite the fact that we did make it into the playoffs under David Wagner. I think it's chalk and cheese in terms of the actual reception and the actual backing of the Norwich City faithful towards the head coach. So yeah, that was really fun. And then to go back, edit that all together, and then work on the scrimmage and get it out on the scrimmage was brilliant. So had such a good time doing that. And I guess the football was an all right game, but it's mainly going to be remembered for that squirrel, isn't it?
I think what all Norwich fans want to know, Henry, is what did he smell like? Did he smell delightful?
I'll be honest,
nice
he didn't.
Soft?
He didn't really smell of anything.
Oh, wow. He didn't smell
I'm
of
not
anything.
sure whether that's because I'm starting to get a cold or not. I do not know. But yeah, I couldn't smell him. There's your exclusive for today's podcast. I could not smell Johannes Hoftorp.
You don't get this kind of insight on any other fan channel podcast. This is My Football Writer in a nutshell.
Oh, that was clever. I like what you did there. That was very clever, rather smart from you. You smart, clever little man. But no, we'll move on to the games themselves. Norwich had 2 in a week. Me and Jack sat here on YouTube and watched one of them, and it was great fun, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was really good fun. Arguably Norwich's worst performance of the season in a 1-0 loss to Preston North End before quite a laboured point against Hull City, where they went behind within, 15 minutes and then ended up getting a point. They scored within 90 seconds of the second half, courtesy of, you guessed it, Josh Sargent. That makes it 5-4, I think, or 5-5. Thank you, Henry. But no, he's been, of course, phenomenal since coming back. If it weren't for him, Norwich would be they're still 5 points or 4 points off the playoffs rather. But no, without him, that would probably be an even bigger gap. But how do you sum up those performances, really? I mean, Jack, me and yourself sort of did that for Tuesday, but sort of to have a deeper dive into it, and Henry as well, just that Preston match and then Hull City at the weekend. Just when you look at we had said at the beginning of February that this run coming up was going to be really favourable. Jack said Norwich would get 15 out of 15 points. I think they've got 4 so far, and at maximum they'll get 7, which is how much I said they might get. So I could become an absolute maestro in the Oracle, but no, probably not with Stoke City coming up. But anyway, I'm evading the question I'm asking the pair of you. So to go back, how do you sum up the performances against Preston and Hull City over the last week?
The Preston game was dire. I think we could have played another 90 minutes and still not have scored. I know that's cliched, but again, I'll let you into a little secret. When I was producing the game for Radio Norfolk, we noticed probably about half an hour in that the phone lines weren't working. So we needed to get a technician to basically divert the lines back to Radio Norfolk, ready for Canary Call. If it wasn't for that, I would have fallen asleep. So that the phone lines going wrong kept me awake because the game was that boring. And then at half time, we had to switch on Exeter versus Nottingham Forest in the FA Cup just to get some excitement because Norwich did not do it for me on that day. It was, you could see that it was going to be 1-0 a mile off and no team was going to score after that early Preston goal. And then, like you said, it was a much better performance against Hull, much more laboured. And if it wasn't for that 15 minutes of madness to start off the game, then we easily would have won. I was listening to Jacob Wright's interview, not to go back to the squirrel, but was listening to that, and he made a really interesting point. He said that the squirrel was on Hull City's side, and that he was trying to jostle Kellen Fisher off the ball, and he was another person. He was another object, so to speak, that Kellen Fisher needed to beat to get that cross in for Josh Sargent. So yeah, that's another debate in itself. But in terms of the actual performance, I think there are a lot of positives to take from that, and hopefully when we go into this game at the weekend against Stoke, hopefully we can be confident that Sargent is firing on all cylinders again, and that the performances will, are there as shown by the first 15 minutes against Stoke. So against Hull, sorry. So I'm sort of optimistic. I'm cautiously optimistic, shall we say. I still think the playoff spot is probably ours to lose. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
I mean, I know that I say that Kellen needs to go to the gym, needs to bulk up a bit, but being out-muscled by a squirrel, okay, the squirrel's probably got more of a beard than you, Kellen. A little furry face. He's got whiskers. There you go. Facial hair squirrel pun. That will be the last squirrel pun you'll hear from me tonight. I swear. I lied. Going back to the Preston match. I mean, yeah, I think I pretty much covered every stone that needed unturning. What were the kind of highlights of the game? My light show. Slimani had a shot on target. That was good. It ended. That was good. Just genuinely, honestly, of all the games to debut the My Football Writer watch along, there was just nothing to do. And Freddie and I said it. We would love to have been able to celebrate just anything, and maybe we should have jumped off our seats when we got a corner, or the ball went into the opposition half. I think we should have just latched on any form of positivity, because it was just exactly what Preston wanted. Early goal, sit back, get your 5 and sit, and get your centre backs to just outmuscle everyone. Signs barely touched the ball. Sargent, completely was missing for large parts of it. And then when Cernats came on, you thought, yeah, that's the match done. The first thing that Cernats did was to push someone in the back and get a yellow card. I mean, obviously he needed to be substituted because of his fitness regime, etc., etc. But there was just really kind of nothing showing. It was just an awful performance from us, but a fantastic one from Preston. In terms of the Hull game, There was a squirrel. Yeah. In case, did anyone of you know there was a squirrel?
No, funny you mention it, really. No, I don't
No.
seem to remember.
No, it goes into the Wildlife at Norwich Games Hall of Fame alongside the West Ham pigeon, that goose that came into Carrow Road during a Carabao Cup game, I want to say against like Swindon or Crawley or someone, and the Blackbird against Chelsea in the Premier
Yes.
League. He sat on the pitch. Yeah, probably don't remember that because it was an awful game. But yeah, he goes into the Wildlife Hall of Fame. The game, yeah, it was all right. Unlucky Signs didn't win it late on, but against the team with the worst home record, or one of the worst in the division. I mean, it's literally a terrible away record and a terrible home record. With that in mind, those two combining in a movable object, you kind of think, okay, a point is fair. But you can't help but feel, obviously, that early goal in the second half, brilliant header. We would have lost that if Sarge wasn't on the pitch and wasn't playing. If that match was being played in October or November, that's a morale boosting first home win of 2025 for struggling Hull City. And I think that's possibly where the frustration is developing, because we all had these grand ideas. January would come to an end, the window would close, we would have all these fantastic players that we've brought in, we'd have all these wonderful players back from suspension and injuries, and it would gel. And in these matches where we were the front runners for the playoffs against lesser teams, we would show off our acumen and dominate all of these teams. It's just not sort of really gone that way. I mean, it's difficult to say that there is progress with the performances when you're going from a really tenacious, well grinded out win at Watford and a really commanding, heavy win against Swansea to barely laying a finger on Preston and, just about getting a point at Hull. Is that steps in the right direction? I think some would argue that it steps back, given that the team has, there's better players in that team. That bench is no longer full of academy youngsters. There is actually options there. But yeah, I think we still have some winnable games left. February isn't completely over. Just the small matter of Stoke at home on Saturday. Yay.
We'll see how it goes. That's it's a weird one. Every game, when you look at a team who's below you, you perceive it as winnable and that you should win. But Preston below Norwich beat them. Hull City below Norwich only just got a point with them. You mentioned, Jack, you said there, two immovable forces. If anything, it was the movable object meeting a stoppable force, and it just counteracted each other, and it ended probably how anyone would have thought, with a draw. A team who can't win at home against a team who can't win away from home. Norwich have won 2 away games since the 28th of September. So just dreadful, really. But their home form isn't so bad. It's only 3 losses in about, a year and 5 months, something along those lines. So it's not overly bad. So you can have confidence going into the Stoke match. So again, we just have to wait and see and sort of hope that Norwich can be okay. But it's funny because, Henry, right at the start of this, you mentioned about how, with you speaking to fans at the Johannes Ovtorop signing session, not a singing session that like you said, but a signing session. Singing, that would have been great to have a singing session. Probably be a very good yodeler, I reckon. But no, because it seems that, from what I've seen after the Hull City match from social media, there seems to be a bit of unrest and unease around Torup, and I think people are losing patience now. And you look at where Norwich are in the league table, it's 33 played with 11 wins, 11 draws, 11 losses, 12th in the table, perfectly smack bang in the middle, which perhaps maybe based on performances and inconsistency, they maybe deserve to be there. I think maybe, well, Will thought Norwich were going to finish 12th in his pre-season prediction, but it's interesting there with Henry, you say that there seems to be a lot of overriding positivity and backing of manager, but from maybe what others have seen, it could be the polar opposite. But is this sort of form Norwich have had this season, is it as bad as it maybe seems, or are people perhaps, well, everyone of course is entitled to an opinion, but are people perhaps, are they a bit over the top with their negativity after the last two matches?
I think people are being over the top, but it's not just necessarily in their negativity. You know, you see people go after we win a couple of games that, you know, we're going to go on to win the league. And obviously not this season, but like next season, sort of similar to what Farke does. And then when we lose the following week, they're saying, oh, well, you know, we've got no hope in hell of going up this season or next season. Where in reality, we've won a game and lost a game. So, you know, that's looking at football from a very linear perspective, I guess. But in terms of what the discourse is around Norwich at the minute, I feel like it is a bit of both, because we have to accept that this is a transitional season and that where Norwich want to get to won't happen overnight. You know, we've lost out on the parachute payments now. We're going to be losing out on key players in the summer. I'll be very shocked if Borja and Josh Sargent are both still here this time next season, to be honest. So we are going to lose key players. And I just think that, you know, Norwich have been there before and Norwich will probably be there again. We need to sort of keep the faith, because Giannis Oftorop has showed that, you know, he knows like how to get the best out of this team in terms of their style of play. Like, you know, Plymouth and even Middlesbrough. I know we didn't win the game, but, you know, it was a thrilling game, thrilling end-to-end football. And, you know, that's what the Norwich fans want. So, like I said, comparing it to David Wagner, who, yes, did get Norwich into the top six, but the discourse around Carrow Road was a lot worse than what it is this season. So I think it is a waiting game. But also, fans looking at this do have the right to think, well, we finished in the top six last season. We made a change in management to further our chances of getting back into the Premier League. And so far, it hasn't looked to have worked. So I can get fans thinking like that. But I do think it is a slight overreaction. And I think if you rewind the clock back to July, just before the start of the season, as you touched on, every single Norwich fan almost would have had Norwich exactly where they are on the table at the minute. And it was almost like at the start of the season, everybody accepted it would be a transitional season. And then when it's actually turned out to be said transitional season, it's not been good enough. So I think Norwich, where a lot of Norwich fans predicted they would be. So I think hopefully next season there's a lot to build on, and I think Giannis Oftorop has shown with the recruitment and with the play style that there will be a lot to build on. But also, football is a results-driven game, so you know this season the pressure's off. No matter what he does, he'll be absolutely fine. But next season, if the club do expect him to kick on, then you know who knows what could happen. So yeah, that's me sort of sitting on the fence, whilst also saying that, yeah, there probably is a slight overreaction.
Well, I think if you look at any results in football and you literally just base it on win, draw, loss, obviously, if you're going to draw games and lose games, then that is bad. And fans don't like it when you draw or lose, irrespective of whether you can look at the statistics and actually see the style. When I looked it up the other day, like in terms of accurate passes, I think we're second in the league to, who'd have thought it, Daniel Farke's Leeds United. obviously, there's other stats that I saw that was, I think we're second or third for big chances missed. And in terms of saves per match, I think we were 16th in the championship. But obviously, our defensive record is kind of much worse than that. So it's not like our defense is doing a fantastic job all of the time for keeping chances out. It's obviously very easy to say, well, in order to fix the big chances, you get a clinical striker or two really clinical forwards to flank him, and you get a bigger, better goalkeeper who can actually make more saves per game and concede less. Obviously, like Henry said, the style is the most important part of it, and I think we've banged this drum so much so far this season that a lot of it, because we've changed the age profile of the squad, is a lot of it based on confidence, and a lot of it is based on bedding in players who aren't used to English football at all. I mean, how many players did we actually sign who had previously played in England? Obviously, Cernats, who was playing out in the Czech Republic, I want to say.
Poland.
Poland?
Yeah.
Poland. Somewhere in Eastern Europe. Anyway, it's not England. But yeah, Forsen playing in Austria. Schwartau playing in Denmark. All of these places aren't England. But yeah, so obviously they're all young, never played in England. That's going to take time for them to get used to literally everything. Again, banging the same drum again. Do you remember 2017-18 when the only player that we had of note was James Maddison, and who was propping us up every game, but we were vaguely liking the style of football, but we were just a bit annoyed that we kind of would fall short in a lot of matches. Again, who knows what is going to happen next season? Obviously, like you said, whether Sargent and Signs will still be here, probably not. But again, I think it's kind of managing fans' expectations broadly about where we are as a football team. I think we don't like that there are teams that we perceive to be slightly smaller than us in slightly bigger leagues than us. I'm massively avoiding another yellow card. But yeah, unfortunately, we don't really want to admit it, but we are where we are. Mr. Webber has kind of, he's fallen short slightly of his promise. What will be we were the 26th best team in England last season. Now we'll be the 32nd. I don't know, Ben Napper, it's your turn to make up a weird catchphrase. I'd quite like us to be a top 17 team in England. That would be delightful. I mean, if we could do a Palace and just finish 12th for the next 30 years, I'd take that than, having to go to Oxford and see all three stands again.
Yeah, I think everyone would agree with you there. So maybe, what do the other people know? What ranking would you like Norwich to be in the country? Would you want them top 26? Would you want them top 17? Would you want them, I don't know, top 38? Don't know, just pulling numbers out of my backside, really. But moving on, let's go on to sort of the future, or the near future, with the Stoke game coming up, and let's talk about a few of the players. But as of late, there's three who are springing to mind here. The new boy Matej Jurasek. There's only played about half an hour as a Norwich City player, really, and is sort of beginning to, well, he's played a lot more than half an hour. He started on Saturday, shows how much I know. But he's sort of been showing signs of promise, of course. Another very young player who has never played in England. There's someone who's played in the Czech Republic, Jack. It's him, not seeing that. But no, Jurasek sort of beginning to show some signs of a player who can be very talented and be sort of perhaps maybe the Saints replacement in the future. And then as well, Kenny McLean will most likely still not play because he's a bit ill. He's obviously got Henry's lack of smell and a bit of a cold that he mentioned earlier. But no, it seems Kenny McLean will probably not play. And we saw, especially against Preston, just how little sort of control Norwich had in midfield areas. They didn't have the anchor man to set everything up. And then another player who will miss out is Callum Doyle. He's now picked up 10 yellow cards. He's going to serve a suspension. So do Norwich go for Jose Cordoba, who's barely played as of late due to injury issues, or do they go with their new boy, Ruari McConville? Do they get him his first start as a Norwich player? So you look at those three players there to sort of highlight on. There's no McLean, there's no Doyle, but Jurasek might be the shining star that could help Norwich here a little bit going into that match. But sort of surrounding those three, how do you sort of solve that dynamic of with Doyle and McLean missing, but can Jurasek continue to be the main man? He mainly played in that sort of number 10 role on Saturday, and Sorensen strangely was playing, it seemed, as a right winger, which I can't get behind whatsoever. But no, there's some interesting choices there. And what do you, if you were Mr. Torup, what would you do maybe concerning those three names we've just said there?
Well, I think out of the people you have named there, Freddie, once again the biggest miss is Kenny McLean. You know, you can tell a Norwich City side when it does have Kenny McLean in, and how good the team is compared to a side that doesn't have Kenny McLean in, which will really struggle to move the ball quickly, get cross-field passes, and go forward with pace. So he's without a doubt the biggest miss. Someone who will probably come in and replace him is Jacob Wright. I thought Jacob Wright really struggled against Preston, but actually against Hull, I thought he was probably one of Norwich's best players. He really did grow into the game, and hopefully, if he can continue that, then I think he could not only be a player, but hopefully he can start churning out good performances regularly in the yellow and green whilst he's here. So, I think Jacob Wright will slot into that position. In terms of Callum Doyle, I think he probably will bring back in Cordoba, if I'm being honest, just because Cordoba's had that run out in the team. I don't think Ruari McConville's come on yet, has he? He may have done it the weekend, but yeah, I think to chuck him in when he's had no minutes in a Norwich shirt might be a bit too risky. So I think he should probably be on the bench and then have Cordoba in a centre back. Someone who I have seen come under a bit of criticism in the last couple of games is Lucien Mahovo. You know, he's still young, and I think he should probably keep his place in the team because I think he's done more good for Norwich since he's been in this team than he's done bad. So I think he should definitely keep his place. And Cordoba, you know what you're going to get with him. He's strong, he's physical. So hopefully his injury problems are put to one side. He's got a new alarm clock, so hopefully he can come back into this team and really hit the ground running. But no, if I was JHT, that's what I'd do. And yeah, hopefully in that midfield, that will be where Norwich City win or don't win the game against Stoke. So that's the one thing that he needs to get right. So hopefully Jacob Wright can step up and produce.
Yeah, I think Righty boy, as I'll call him, against Preston, he was probably planning to sit on a nice warm bench for probably 70 minutes. And then Kenny comes in with a cough. And Johannes says, right, did you see everything that we planned with Kenny early this week in training? No? All right. Well, just do everything that you think he'll do. Off you go, lad. The light show's going off. Go on. So yeah, obviously he had a difficult game against Preston. Obviously, a better against Hull. But will he be the long-term solution for Kenny? I would love to see the win statistics when Kenny has started versus when Kenny hasn't started. Probably since the kind of lockdown promotion season when he kind of was regularly in that midfield. Because before that, he wasn't starting any games in the 18-19 season, and we did fantastically without him. But then again, we had Tommy Tribal back then. Maybe that's the solution. Has Tommy Tribal retired? I think he probably has. Again, has he got any children? Well, we just got to hope that he is the long-term replacement for Kenny. We're not going to know that, from a match against Preston and a match against Hull. I don't think we rush to any conclusions and think we're absolutely doomed. But obviously he's young. The pedigree is clearly there. So yeah, just fingers crossed that he can cement himself in this team, and this is a good opportunity for him. Very rarely are you going to get a situation where Kenny McLean can't play unless he goes to the ref and tells him something that he doesn't want to hear, or slightly raises his arm in the direction of someone's face. But no Callum Doyle. That's a bit of a shame. In terms of Cordoba or McConville, I quite like McConville to start. 6'4" against Ben Gibson. Can you just imagine the scenes? 89th minute, back post header in front of the Barclay, and he goes and does a Tim Closer and headbutts the flag. I'm just imagining it now. Probably I'd whack him in. But I know that Torab isn't going to do that. He's just going to play Cordoba and be boring. Ugh. But yeah, like you said, Freddie, if he plays Sorensen at right mid again, I refuse. I'll go support another team.
Oh dear.
I'm kidding. I won't do that. But Jurasek, you mentioned about Jurasek. Yeah, you're right. When he came on against Preston, he was kind of fighting a losing battle. He did some lovely little flicks and stuff, and but again, he's finding his feet, having played in the Czech Republic, or Czechia, as it likes to be known now. It wants to drop the Republic bit. I don't know if anyone from Czechia is listening. Why did you decide to change your country's name? It's perfectly fine with the Czech Republic. Anyway.
There's going to be such a massive political reason for that, isn't there?
Probably, but it's not as bad as confusing Ireland with Northern Ireland.
That was bad.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Henry, naughty. There will be a moment where Jurasek finally gets up to speed. He finds his feet and finds the back of the net. And if that coincides with the same time that Sainz rediscovers his sparkling form, then it, as I said before, it could really get me going. I think Sainz is still the top scorer in the championship, just about. I think Josh Madger is just behind him, and someone else, maybe Pirro or someone. I don't know. That is so fun. When was the last time that Sainz scored? I'm trying to even think now. I'm trying to go back through. Was it?
Because he got suspended against Sunderland.
Yeah.
In December.
No, No, that's when the incident happened. He
Yeah,
got suspended in January. His last game was Coventry, which he
didn't score
net.
in.
No.
He didn't net
Borja-
against Luton either at the Kenny.
No.
So.
No, he didn't. No, that was Nunez.
Not Millwall, not QPR.
No.
This is a fun
Tell
game.
you what, I think it could actually be before the Sunderland match. I don't think he scored in about 10 games.
Yeah, I think it was. I don't think it was December. I think it was November.
It must have been.
Wow.
Has to have
Anyway,
been.
we will look back and we will figure it out, and we'll be like, "Oh yeah, it was that game." But that's kind of a weird. Oh, whilst I'm talking, Freddie's looking it up. But that's almost like a weird, thing. Obviously, suspension has hindered him not scoring. But Signs again has kind of he's not looked sparkling on his return. I very much like him to be sparkling again. I thought on his time off he'd be learning how to take free kicks and all that nonsense. Come on, Frederick.
He's not scored since we beat Luton 4-2.
Really?
Yeah, according to what I have here on Transfermarkt, Borja Sainz's last goal was on the 18th game of the Championship season. We're on match day 34 coming up.
I mean, he was suspended for a large chunk of that, but that was only 6, right?
Yeah.
Come on, Borja. Come on, get back in the goals. Come on. You're not going to win the Golden Boot by, sitting around doing nothing.
To be fair, massive respect to him. He was like, I'm absolutely annihilating the competition. I've just got to let them catch up before I start performing again. So fair play to him for being a true sportsman. Obviously, he was done for unsportsmanlike behaviour, but, he is the true professional.
So are you saying that he's going to wait until someone matches him, and then he's going to be like, "Lol, joking, I'm going to outscore you all again," give him false hope? To be like, "Oh, you thought you'd get the Golden Boot? No, mine."
He'll wait until he's behind, and then he'll score like a double hat trick against someone.
No. I think teams have figured him out now. I think people know how to play against Borja Sainz. I think that's been made clear and why he's been really struggling. He's being double marked pretty much every single game, and it frustrates him. And he has a temper, and he kicks up a fuss, and he gets himself frustrated. I think teams have really figured him out now, and ultimately, you're seeing it in performances. You're seeing it in results. Ultimately, he was unstoppable until someone eventually figured out how to stop him. And I think that's why it's not been working. But it's funny we bring him up really and continue to talk about him because it was revealed by Mr. Paddy Davitt that Napoli were in the mix looking at Borja over the winter period. Of course, didn't sign him because he's still here. But he's entering the final 12 months of his Norwich City contract, is Borja Sainz, which is scary because we don't want to lose him on a free transfer. Of course, you want to cash in, but with Napoli interested and probably a whole host of other teams you can imagine that will want to bring him in, what do Norwich do in this scenario? Do they try their absolute hardest and just go, right, you write the figure down, we'll pay it, and they get him on a new deal? Or do they just let him have the last 12 months, see what happens? If a deal comes in with, say, 8 or 7 months left and Norwich are happy with it, they go, right, cheers for your service, we'll see you later. Or what do they do? Do they just let it ride and lose arguably their best player on a free? Or do they just go, right, how much do you want? 100 grand, deal.
I think Norwich have to listen to offers. They have to. Whether they go down the Martin Olsen route and offer Borja Sainz a new deal in the knowledge that they're going to sell him in the next transfer window and maximise the amount of money they could get for him is a different argument, but I'll be very shocked if this time next year Borja Science is still a Norwich City player. I think, to me, the one that makes the most logical sense is for him to go in the summer transfer window, because if he goes in the January transfer window, then obviously he'll be in the last 6 months of his contract. So, if Napoli came in for him, he could then sign a pre-contract if it was this time next year. So for him, I think he'll want that move in the summer. And I think for Norwich City, if it does look like he's unlikely to sign a new deal, then Norwich will want him gone in the summer as well. So I think, unfortunately, we're looking at a world where it's very unlikely that Borja Science will stay much into next season at all, to be honest. But hopefully he can do what Olsen did and sign a new deal. And then if a big offer comes in that Ben Napper deems that simply cannot refuse, then hopefully that will be a good deal for everyone concerned.
I think it would be the most Norwich thing ever just to let his contract run out, sign him on a free and let him go on a free. But you've got to ask the question, what is in it for Borja? Like, if he were to sign a deal, obviously, like Henry said, there'd be scope for there to be a tangible transfer. But obviously, you don't really sign a contract with the intention of eventually, or moving on quickly. You sign a new contract with the intention of, staying at the club and for there to be progression. Obviously, we as fans are bemoaning where our position is in the league. If he's looking at Norwich going from 6th to 12th, same logic. Is he buying into the project? Is he thinking that, this is a step back? When you've got teams in the Champions League asking for your signature, are you going to say, no, actually, no, I would love to stay for another season and try and get promoted for a third time? Because you know what they say, third time is the charm, or third time lucky, or whatever the phrase is. What would I offer him? Well, I would offer him the nicest beachfront little beach hut that there is in Winterton-on-Sea. I would offer him the keys to the town of Swaffham. I would bake him the biggest chroma crab pie that you've ever seen in your life. I would give him a free year's membership to the Dinosaur Adventure Park at I'm forgetting where it is now, but the dinosaur place. I'd give him a year's pass there. I mean, if I was given a free ticket to the Dinosaur Adventure Park, seeing a Diplodocus would really motivate me to score more goals, top bins. It's that kind of stuff. And that is why I should be not only the player liaison officer, but I should also be in the room negotiating with Ben Napper, because I think it's little personal touches like that really, really sweeten the deal. So yeah, pies, Diplodocuses, and the keys to Swaffham. That's how we keep him.
Imagine that. Imagine going from living in a lovely area of Spain, also playing in Turkey, to here you go, keys to Swaffham. Have that, mate. That'll do, yeah. That'll keep it. That'll do it. That'll keep
right. Another town. What about like Attleborough? Would you like Attleborough instead, Borja?
Oh dear, it just gets worse and worse. Oh dear. Oh God.
Long Stratton's lovely. Oh, if they bypass Long Stratton, then will you stay?
I think Jack is on a mission to offend all of the population of Norfolk at this rate.
No, he is. Yeah. Oh, dearie me. Borja Science coming to a town near you soon if Jack Wright gets on the Norwich player liaison board or whatever. No. So if there's any club representatives, this is your man. Get him in and he'll sort all the deals out for you. But no, you know what? That could have been a quick fire hot take as we dive into these now. So maybe we'll get that next week. What town would you want if you're a Norwich player and if you were given the keys to a rural Norfolk town? So maybe Jack will note that down for next week. But for this time around, he's got his 5 questions ready. We'll go for it. If you're new around here, basically 5 questions. They get asked. We answer them quickly, but perhaps we've been sort of doing them a bit longer, more long-winded ones as of late. But we'll give over to Jack. We'll let him take centre stage.
By the way, I'd like the keys to Wroxham, and I would make Will Grant the chairman of the parish council. And plus, I'd get all the money from Roy's, you know, and all the tourist boat money. You know, you got to think logically. You don't want somewhere like Hunstanton.
Lakenheath. Get the airport or the airfield or whatever it is.
No, that's Suffolk. No, you're not allowed a town in. Can't go that far. You can have what's the one in Norfolk? Oh God, I forgot its name. Anyway, should we go on to some quick facts?
Yeah, I think we should. Yeah,
moving swiftly on.
I'm just trying to name as many towns and villages in Norfolk as I can. Love you, Norfolk, if you're listening.
I'd like to think they are.
All of Norfolk is listening. Question 1. When did Norwich make you the angriest? Not apathetic, not upset, but angry.
When we lost 4-0 away at Millwall.
I think it was when we lost 5-0 away at Brighton.
Oh yeah, that was very spicy. I remember that. I'm trying to think. I think I just seem to remember the end of Alex Neil's tenure, like every match just being just like really, really toxic and just really kind of hating every minute of it, and just kind of hating the fact that he was this brilliant manager who took us up but then took us down, and was really annoying. I'm remembering in that season it was the Newcastle away game. It was the 4-3 after they scored.
We were 3-2 up in the 90th and we lost, didn't we?
Yeah. That was that's pretty anger inducing. If you had to organise the halftime entertainment, what would you do?
I'd bring back the Zorb balls. I loved that. And I think away fans did as well. No, bring that back.
I was going to say the same, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, maybe like Delia does a cooking show for everyone. Like, you know, either this week we're making a nice brie and broccoli quiche. You know, and then on the big screen you have the recipe. Not that anyone can cook along whilst they're watching. I just think, you know, that would be, you know, really on brand for Norwich.
So
either that or Delia and his orb.
So it's fair to say that neither of you are a fan of Cal Freezy and KSI's halftime antics.
Oh yeah, when we played
Norwich
Spurs
versus Tottenham, yeah.
Yeah, no, don't bring them back.
When KSI was booed out of the stadium, basically.
I'm surprised anyone in Norfolk knew who he was. But there we go. No, Delia and Azor. There we go. If the Norwich halftime team are watching, who organises the halftime show? I don't even know. If Norwich had appointed Lampard instead of Dean Smith, what position would we be sat in right now?
12th in the Championship.
Good question.
I don't think we'd be any different.
12th in the Championship, just because I think we probably would have had a better first season back. I don't think we would have finished 13th, but we wouldn't have gone up and probably still would have replaced him with David Wagner. So, yeah.
16th in the Premier League.
Oh, give over.
He would have got on the phone to one of his mates and signed someone from Chelsea or something. You're seeing his form at Coventry right now. He's clearly, he's clearly a top quality manager.
But you also saw his form at Everton in the Premier League.
And he also had, what was it, a 9% win rate when he went back to Chelsea?
Yeah.
So, yeah, not a chance. Not a chance.
Listen, stats can be deceiving.
I think the one thing that would have been for certain is that Norwich would have got relegated with Frank Lampard. It's how we would have performed in the Championship.
But then again, who won the playoff final? Dean Smith's Aston Villa or Frank Lampard's Derby? Of all of Norwich's failed record signings, which one do you wish had worked out the most?
Zollis. The sell-on potential would have been absolutely phenomenal if that worked out. 100% Zollis.
Rick Van Winkle, just because of the hype.
I think it is 50-50 between those two. I don't think there's another kind of record signing that you'd look at and you'd think, oh, I really kind of wanted that to work. Like Naismith, Tim Closer, it kind of works.
I'd say that did work, arguably, yeah.
Yeah, it did, yeah.
Well, in the long term, it didn't achieve the goal that we wanted, which was staying up in the Premier League. But
because he got injured.
Yeah, but still didn't work out.
Hey, be kind. He's been on this channel.
I love you, Tim. You know that. You'll be given the keys to Dis.
That's Suffolk. Is that Suffolk?
It's Norfolk. The golf club is in Suffolk.
Okay.
Yeah, I know my South Norfolk geography. I completely agree with Henry with that singular word, hype. The amount of Van Wolfswinkel 9 shirts, that's probably the highest selling shirt the club has ever sold. And obviously he was the poster boy of us staying up in the Premier League and getting Europe under Chris Hughton. Just didn't happen. I mean, for Zollis, we gave him plenty of opportunities. It was, I think, 3 or 4 different managers played him and didn't rate him. Obviously, he's gone to Bruges, and by all accounts is fantastic and wonderful and is showing the potential that we all thought he had. But too bad, too late. Oh well. I haven't even picked one. Ricky. I'll go Ricky. And the final one, which one current player could become top/Premier League/world class by changing one attribute of their game? So, for example, if you gave Grant Holt pace, he would be world class. So what is the player and what is the one attribute you would change?
Not necessarily world class, but if you give Borja Sainz the ability to defend, I feel like he could be a solid Premier League player for sure.
See, I'm also going to pick Borja, but I'm going to say for him to be less selfish. I think if he was more of a team player, I think the sky would be the absolute limit. It already is because, of course, he is a brilliant player. But I just feel as if there's been a few games as of late where, or even I think Pompey away really springs to my mind because I was actually there. And there were so many opportunities where he could have passed, he should have used a teammate, and he didn't, and it ruined an attacking opportunity. I think if he was a bit more concerned on a team game than individual, I think he'd be even better than what he already is.
I can't really think of anyone now. I created the question. I can't even think of anyone. Maybe make Sargent quicker. He's already relatively quick, but if you then, include like his ability in the air, along with, that pace to link up with Borja, who's already quite pacey, give give him even more. Make him the fastest player in the championship. That's a cheating attribute, but I don't care. That takes him from 15 million to 25 to 30 million. Yes, those are all of your hot takes. Again, what did you think in the comments? Which player do you think could be changed by one attribute to be world class? Which Norfolk Village's keys would you like? I own them. I can't give them out. But if you email your MP nicely, maybe they'll let you look at the key. Do villages even have keys anymore? Or am I that
Probably
old?
not.
No.
You just give them the village hall in some random field. I don't even know which one I'd like. Is Milden Hall in Norfolk? I think it is. I'm not overly sure.
I think that's Suffolk as well, boy. Why are you obsessed with Suffolk?
Well, no, I just don't know. I don't know what towns are in Norfolk anymore. I've moved too far away. I don't know anything. The only places I know are Worthing and Stenning nowadays.
Stenning, never heard of it. Well, what you could do is you could get the keys to a town in Suffolk and completely ruin it. If you wanted to. I mean, there's a certain town that's quite near the south of Suffolk, quite near Colchester, that does it all by itself, and you don't even need to put any effort in.
No. Yeah, be careful. Be careful. Avoid any yellow cards. But no, there's your lot, I'm afraid, for the week. And you'll have to wait another one to hear more nonsense. Maybe we'll talk about what keys for cities we want instead rather than towns. Maybe villages. We'll do our homework and we'll have a look. Don't worry, the MFW podcast, it's coming to a random village near you, I think. But no, we hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have sat here doing it. I've been Freddie Humphrey Wakefield. They have been Jack Wright and Henry Miller. It's goodbye for now, and we'll see you all in the next podcast or videos of ours on the YouTube channel or on our Spotify account.